Welcome back. Secret
Yep.
House Against. Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture conversations. Today we're rocking with my cousin Ro.
Yes,
Philly Negroes in the house, you know what I mean?
Negroes.
Nigga Pinos and Jet.
Chat. Yeah, what's up? I'm still here.
You know
I'm
the
not
secret
going
house.
nowhere. I'm in the
You know
secret
the
house.
secret
Yeah.
house.
Peace.
Man, today we're here to discuss a new collaborative album by Blackchai and August Fanon. Blackchai, all lowercase. The album is called Otherwise a Blur. There's 11 songs, approximately 27 minutes, 28 minutes perhaps. It dropped on September 6th, and we were lucky to get this album early, so we've had quite a bit of time to listen and digest this. However, Ro was just deciding to come over today to kick it, and he did not have a lot of time to
but
digest this.
I did listen from the first song to. I almost finished it. But
Hey,
yeah, no.
Okay. Well, that's dope.
I think I left like 2 songs or so. but
Okay, that's dope.
It was great though.
So to lay it out, Blackchai is a rapper, MC, poet, artist from New York. He's a part of that flourishing community of really dope, radical, independent, underground, avant-garde, experimental, underground cats. He's been putting it down for several years. However, I think we both became privy to his music earlier this year with the his LP called Year Wandering.
Yep.
Shout out to Lord Shamar. Shout out
to Lord Shamar, fucking the God.
Yeah, shout out to Shamar for putting us on to Blackchai. Year Wandering was one of the surprising albums for me this year, for it to just come out of nowhere, to feel so fully formed and also resonate with me the way it did. I absolutely rock with that one. It's been one of my favorites, and I think it's safe to say that this is also one of my favorites of the year too. The production of this album is handled in entirety by the great August Fanon.
That's right.
Who, of course, is a giant in the indie underground community, having worked with so many of the greatest artists putting out music today. All of the Backwoods cats. He's got several collabs with the incredible Vic Spencer. Work with Crime Apple, Kai Solo, Curly Castro, Morpheus, a lot of friends of the show, a lot of just the illest and most talented cats out right now. He's got several beat tapes. One of them is playing in the background right now, just full of fire, and just one of my favorite producers. And on top of him being one of my favorite producers, I do every once in a while tap into Twitter and I'll see some of his posting, and I know that for a fact that ideologically we share a lot of the same political tendencies. It's no secret here that Jed and I are Marxists. I'm a Pan-African socialist, Black Alliance for Peace, and so I see a lot of political discourse and thoughts that start at anti-capitalism and continue left. So I really love August Fanon and what he's doing, and Blackchai also shares some of those things.
Absolutely.
That really just off rip, they make me support them more. And we had a little bit of discussion about the new Kendrick Lamar track, and I think that was a fundamental distinction that I needed to make during that conversation. And please go back and check that out. It's on our Odd Cypher Divine kind of update videos, which would be titled 914. So just the last one to come out where I look like this. But we get into some of the differences between Afrocentric politics versus Pan-African socialist politics. And with this album, it's one of my favorite things about it. And while it's not directly forward in that way, it is directly forward in that way if you're on the frequency. I was also privileged enough to be able to contribute to the creation of this album in a small way. I wrote the liner notes. I plan on writing a few different variations of it, but that was also the week that she had to go to the emergency room and we were in the hospital for a bit. She is my wife. Shout out to B-Girl Chi. But yeah, we're all good. We're all safe. We're all happy, and we're still poor, but we're figuring the shit out. So, on the liner notes, I emphasize something that I like to call the Black radical tradition. Now, before I get into kind of the details and how I find that energy here into in the album, why don't I let one of you guys get off on some of your thoughts on it, since I've been talking for approximately 6 minutes. I don't know. just a lot of me.
Oh, I mean, we've been doing this for a while now. I'm quite happy to just let you get
Yeah.
off.
I do talk a lot, and even when Jet's trying to talk more, I tend to cut him off. So I'm, it's like,
Americans, am I right?
It's the nature of our friendship. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so something that I think works really, really interestingly about this record, something that works very well about this, is that we've reviewed quite a lot of albums that have like a weeb tendency, right? An album that, like, you've got anime, you've got video games that are present, whether that's in the sampling or the song titles. Yeah. In this track,
stuff,
off the top of my head, Urameshi is a character from Yu Yu Hakusho, right, Ro?
Yeah.
Sparking Zero is the Dragon Ball game that's either about to come out or has just come out. I don't know, but
shout
it's
out
the new,
to Trey Does asking me if I was going to play that.
New Budokai game or something. Planetary Devastation is like one of the ultimate techniques in Naruto, I believe. Chikaku Tensei. You got a bunch of these. Impermanence, Shogyo Mujo. There's some Buddhism going on there as well. And these are all things that you also saw in Year Wandering, which I believe was very influenced by Vagabond, which I have not read or taken part in.
The cover of that is a collage of a lot of the things that happen in the album. And you would say that part of Black Chai's style is very similar to this pastiche, this mismatch, this kind of free form, loose thought association, Gatling gun of ideas.
And it's like, so you have that kind of pop cultural element. This is obviously the kind of culture that Black Chai consumes. I had a very good conversation the other day with Black Chai about Number Girl, the pioneering Japanese alternative rock band from the 90s. In combination with Black Chai's Marxism, and in combination with the more politically radical and interesting ideas that are coming through, and then of course just the straight up dope rapping.
Sure.
Black Chai does provide like a really, with the bed that's provided by August Fanon, this really wonderful synthesis of the political, the personal, and the cultural. And you get a really, really good feel for who Black Chai is through the lens of this record, through this mixtape and Year Wandering that preceded it.
Indeed. Yeah, I often use the term Black Radical Tradition, and I know that that's been used before by like Cedric Robinson in his book about Marxism, and also, varying other people. When I discuss it, I understand that it is a very kind of nebulous, odd concept to really get across, and I don't it kind of suggests like an organized movement, but it's not an essentialism, it is not an essence, it is not some kind of metaphysical through line for me that happens to emerge through the struggles of global Black people in their relationship to various forms of like material oppression. What I mean by it is kind of like this impulse towards freedom and breaking the shackles of, in various ways, that the shackles of the culture at times can be oppressive, how people find ways out of that, the way that people find ways to come to different kind of pathologies, methodologies of doing things. So when I'm talking about the Black Radical Tradition, I'm talking about, the spiritual components of, gospel music, and also the kind of attempts at jazz, and even within jazz being a Black art form, free jazz being a part of that, the Black poets, people who, like, for example, your Nation of the Gods even are aspects of that. Now, a lot of these things are disparate and not necessarily connecting, but through a historical context, you can find different variations on how Black people have been able to find new ways of self-expression and push towards liberation in a lot of ways. A lot of times they're directly historically pertinent to those struggles, and you find that on this album. You find samples from talking about Mandela and the ANC. You'll also find on this album like Jane Cortez, who is a poet who emphasize improvisation and experimentation, and she's the person who's discussed the last poem on the last track, 26 Doses. It starts with her. I know that because I had a not much unlike this piece of paper here. I had a printout that I picked up from Under One Roof, the African bookstore, that had photocopies of books and poems and things, and that's how I know this. And poetry and this radical style, it emerges in hip hop culture. Hip hop culture is, as I said in the liner notes, it is a crystallization of social forces in black culture. And when I listen to guys like blackchai or August Fanon, I hear a lot of that black radical tradition reemerging. The messages, the callbacks, sonic qualities, styles, approaches. You'll find similarity in these things with black art.
Yes.
From the Wu-Tang samples to the jazz samples. Style are similar to those free-form things. And
this kind of like, especially, you know, the anime and the video games is a direct reflection of the like black people love kung fu that spawned the Wu-Tang sound and style, right? Like this whole like combination of black and East Asian through material conditions. You know, black people love kung fu because kung fu movies were very cheap to license and rent out to black-owned cinemas compared to these films that people didn't want to watch, starring fucking Ronald Reagan or John Wayne or whatever. So people would go and watch a Bruce Lee movie. Similarly, a lot of black people, it's like, you know, or poor people just generally would be watching fucking, you know, Kiss anime and watching like, you know, Toonami or whatever you had like on the TV at the time, and it was stuff that was being licensed out because it was not expensive to license out, and you get those same reflective material conditions. And I genuinely see this as a direct successor to the kung fu that you see on the Wu-Tang.
I feel like it does try to meet a lot of those ideas like on a similar frequency, but also advance them. I get the impression that blackchai is probably a young person, you know, relatively speaking, not like a 10th grader, but maybe in his 20s, and that's a young person to me. I'm 41 years old, but I hear all these things, and I'm familiar with some of them. I'm familiar with like Yu Yu Hakusho and a lot of these things. But
I had to look this up.
There's also there's so many different elements that are deeply personal to him. Like I also hear like Ghostface a lot in this, like Supreme Clientele Ghostface, the Ghostface that went to Africa to heal himself and wrote one of the most craziest albums, like Semantic Rambling Gatling Gun Ghostface, who was just like, what is going on? And then he pulled that back a lot subsequently after that. But I hear a lot of that, and what's interesting to me is also the style in which that blackchai seems to use. Now, nobody here has heard me really rap at all, but when I was making music in the early aughts, we used to do this quite a bit because I come from the tradition of the Project Blodians, and we would call it stackaging. It's like free-form random thoughts, heavy alliteration, heavy poetic devices, sometimes just fly word combinations put together that don't necessarily have a clear-cut through line of what's being said. You hear that from Micah 9, Fellowship, Ghostface, You Got at times, early Aesop Rock, especially like early Noah 23. And like Noah 23 says, like, being an MC or a rapper is not looked at solely as a game or a career or an avenue to flex business acumen. No. Sometimes it is an ancient chain of invocation and verbal magic of the highest order by true conduits of style and supernatural alphabetic synchromysticism. And when I hear these spells from an Elucid, and when I hear these spells from blackchai, they're coming at you so much, but I'm picking out pieces of these puzzles, and they are resonating with me in that sense that I get when I listen to a poem by somebody who's liberatory like me. When I listen to a speech, when I listen to a verse, I get a lot of resonating with this, which as a Marxist is a bit weird to say that because it is getting a little metaphysical, so to speak.
Sure,
and, I'm a materialist, but there's a resonance. I'm on, like, this frequency they're on is where I be at
on the album. Yeah. I mean, lyrically, I don't have the bar written down, but spelling and spells as a direct reflection of Elucid's spelling is a literal theme that appears in the record.
Yeah.
This is something that, even if you don't adhere to metaphysics, we don't understand the mechanics of how all of this works.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe we call this casting spells today, but there's a reason that these things resonate emotionally and you know, biologically with human beings.
It's an interesting conversation to me because so much of hip hop culture is the dominant conversations that happen downstream from where hip hop's happening. The artist cats, a subculture is always upstream, but the dominant conversations that happen in hip hop tend to view rapping and music as this type of like sports metric or combat where you have to be able to meet certain criteria to get an A in this category or a B or a C in this category. Is it like, you know, they go so far to even rate apples to oranges in ways like what verses, what voice sounds better.
How many,
you know what I mean? And
internal rhymes did
right.
this person squeeze into a stanza?
And to me, like, while those are fun things to discuss and really, you know,
you got the poster up there, right? Yeah. You got the vocab size poster behind Doom over
and
there.
Another unimportant metric. But like with this, blackchai, and we haven't even really discussed the specifics of the album. I'm just kind of laying a groundwork of my thoughts on it. blackchai is one of the few artists that I hear doing this specific type of style. It's like, for me, it's like him and Tetsuo. Period Tetsuo.
It's a good shout, yeah.
And both of them are just, this to me comes from the tradition of auto poesy. It sounds like it's like all over the place, but nah, there's a focus, there's an intention to this style, and it connects with a certain way if you're fucking hip. If you're like what Miles Davis would call a fucking jive turkey, you're not gonna pick up on the real shit that's happening. And this is a part of that, man. Like, I don't know how to explain to the average rap head why certain verses on this are so incredible when their frame of reference for greatness is an Eminem verse or a Jay-Z verse. They're structurally different in so many ways, but I'm not trying to diminish the quality and skill of Jay and them, but sometimes there's these new orders that emerge from chaos. And the orders that are going on here, these are the same type of orders that put me on a path. When I listen to simple bars like
Boss.
Me and the homies collectively independent. Now, if you're even inching towards a certain leftist quality in your thinking, little lines like this are spells that can transform all of this shit just building up. Quantitative change equals qualitative change, right? You build up all of these ideas and you'll see that emergence is really something of a quality change in art. And that's what makes me so passionate about what artists like blackchai are doing. And artists, and even though like there's a fundamental difference to me of like what like a Vic Spencer's doing versus like blackchai, but August Fanon is putting it down for black art in a way that is so tremendous, whether he's working with Woods and Elucid or if he's working with, I don't care if he did a song with fucking Nelly, but there's something here that is beyond, that goes and stretches past a lot of the bullshit narratives we're talking about. A lot of that neoliberal bullshit. And let's get into the album specifics. Let's get into album specifics a little bit. You know what I mean? There's just bars. Like I didn't even make a lot of notes about this because I like to make notes to emphasize certain things so they're fresh in my head. But with this, it's so randomly kind of assembled and all over the place, and there's so much to grab from. I could pick out lines, incredible lines, or parts of the beats that are so dope and this and that, but I figured like, why would I do that for you? Let me just explain to you a little bit the differences between your normal listening habits and perhaps what you might get out of this. I don't have, you know, my notes, Jet. Like, look, this is it.
No, this is extremely minimal by your stats.
I just like, there's keys. The only reason I have key lines on this because I decided to write one down at the time that I was doing it. And you know what's cool about this too is also I got a vocal feature on this motherfucker too, though.
You do indeed have a feature.
You do.
I also technically have a feature because
Yeah.
I think at some point I say yep.
Yo, you better get your ass cap right, man. We gotta get the royalties for this shit. But no, it's like so many of these songs, you'll get hit with something that is like company flowish or excuse me, like the cold vein, like Scream Phoenix, but the line before that would be like striving for perfection, which is like a Raekwon title, and then you'll get the Scream Phoenix, which is a cold vein Cannibal Ox title. There's so many parts of this album that just like poke me and relate so many ideas together in this really strange way. It's like one of those what are those like little 3D find the image joints where you kind of squint? if you pay attention to the right way, you see the dolphin. You know what I mean? That's how I get a lot of something, like I'm squinting to try to figure it out, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I kind of get what War Rations is about. You know what I mean? Noah, like, and the features on this shit are fire too. Oh, yeah. Noah, I don't know who that is like that, but I was like, yo, Noah killing. A Phoenix out the ballad, talisman around my neck revealing patterns. Oh, so hard. Oh, so many fucking hard bars on here. I want blackchai to come to Tokyo just so we could bar out and just wild out together.
Out. And yes. I don't know if blackchai's been here before because obviously clearly someone who's interested in Japanese culture, but I will extend the rare sushi on us invitation when rappers.
We gotta stop doing that, bro. The yen is so weak. He come out here balling, and we over here like, oh my god, a $300 phone. Like, yo, my electricity bill was $300 this month, y'all. It's crazy. Electricity went up 40% because of the tariffs on oil. Fucking dropped off, and so now all of our electricity bills went up 40%.
But when you come through this lens, whether it's via anime or through Shogyo Mujo, through Wabi Sabi, or whatever, like, this is clearly someone who has a kinship with what we are.
Oh, that's my
as black people living in Japan. Yeah. I think all three of us took very different paths. All three of us have a very different reason for being here. But at the same time, it's like I see a kinship through, ultimately, like, there's a reason that, like, a lot of black people like this shit. Yeah. And I think that it's very, very closely drawn to the lived experiences that we have as black people living in Japan. And different flavors of black people at that. I mean, you two are the same flavor, apparently, because you're cousins. But, I'm British as shit. Run it, Mega.
It'd be like that. Let me see if I could play some shit. No, there's moments on this album where the production reminds me very distinctly of like a kind of like the album is called Otherwise a Blur. Otherwise a Blur,
yes.
Right? And the cover of it kind of looks like a dude in a parka, like a hoodie, you know what I mean, in winter.
Snow, somewhere cold.
And it does kind of, I got to admit, a lot of the album does kind of remind me, it's a very New York kind of sensibility that reminds me of, which is brick as fuck. It's cold, it's kind of hard, you know what I mean, it's concrete, and there's not a lot of nature on this album, so to speak, in that regard. No. And it does remind me more of like a fall or a winter album. But a lot of these beats, and even some of the titles like Wu-Tang Willa Blunt, some of these remind me specifically towards that kind of like Wu-Tang combat aesthetic, right? Not all of them, but some of them do have kind of that, like, listen to this beat. It's like, and even some of the songs will start off with like undoubtedly former Wu samples. Like I think the Criminology sample, something like that. So there's, I don't know why it's not.
Sorry.
This is exactly what it sounds like. We know what that is.
This album is not currently on streaming, I don't believe.
No.
So, I mean, But, the application that we have this album through is a little finicky. Yeah. So, apologies for any random pauses or weird technical issues.
There is kind of like this part of it, but other songs like sound. I've been playing War Rations on repeat.
That was my favorite as well.
Also 26 Doses. 98 Prime, I'm not very familiar with their work, but I'm rocking with 98 Prime. Noah, Jonas, Silence also is very good. Also, one of the things when I first got the album, it wasn't mastered yet. So the version I had actually is a little slightly different than this one, and I think that maybe even 26 Doses wasn't on my copy. Maybe I just didn't download it, but yeah, I don't I have a lot to say about this album, but I didn't make any notes. I want you, like, we're not a review channel. I'm not always here to tell you how, you know what I mean?
How to enjoy
what a bar is or something.
We're not a buyer's guide.
Yeah.
Our mission statement is buy it. Support independent underground hip hop. So if you're looking for a buyer's guide, hey, buy it.
I'm
like
here.
A lot of replay value as well, because there's a lot of content. Like it's really like, you know, stream of consciousness. There's a lot of
Get more into the mic.
no, yeah. There's a lot of bars you're gonna miss on the first.
Oh
listen.
yeah.
So you'll just
Again,
you'll be finding new things every time.
this rewards your
Yeah.
scholarship. Like, if you don't understand something, maybe try to clock and figure it out. And it's not all that deep. He's not getting you the fucking apparition riddle thing. Like, it's heavily loaded, but it's not.
It's understandable.
Not to be,
it's consumable.
It's not to
Absolutely.
fucking riddle you. It's not to. It's to present a new, chaos for you to find order
none
in.
of this album's complexities and kind of chaotic nature is to detract from how sonically pleasing the record is. Like, August Fanon gets off. I mean, August Fanon always gets off in the run that they've been on
never
for the
misses.
past however many years. This is a producer who does not miss. But at the same time, it's like, if you are just looking for some like real good, mostly drumless, although very percussive, alternative independent hip hop, like, of course that's all there for you at a level of extremely high competency. There's no question. This is not a difficult listen in the sense of like, oh, I don't know what's going on, I don't like it, in the way that like a car might be.
Hey man, like, I try to put people onto all types of shit, and they just be like, nah, I'm not feeling that. I'm like, do you know who that is, bro? Like, you don't know the last poets? Like, you don't know, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times, like, people ain't, reality is not simultaneously apprehended. Sometimes you're going to hear some shit, not like it, and then 10 years from now, you can be like, what was that? Oh my God, them niggas ain't playing. Them niggas ain't playing. Yeah. Let's give some of our, I don't really, all right, my favorite tracks, War Rations, 26 Doses, Planetary Devastation, Contra-Coded Hash Clouds.
He's doing the thing.
Sparkling
He's doing
Zero.
the thing again. He's doing the thing.
Urameshi
Stop it. Shut up,
Depeche
Mega.
Mode.
Shut up, Mega. Ro,
Yeah.
what are your favorite tracks on the album?
Suit Tie and Halo.
You don't need the headphones. It's fine. Speak.
Yo. Okay.
Speak as long as Mega's not speaking.
My favorite, also War Rations. I really love Chambara style as well. I will say,
Phone locked up.
the Urameshi sample in front of Chambara. I'm wondering why it wasn't in front of the Urameshi
on
song.
Depeche Mode.
But
Reality is non-simultaneously apprehended.
You're right. And Suit Tie Halo was really nice. But I just love the production on this. Like the jazzy sample, like it's just a smooth listen. It's just gritty. It's like,
You don't have a name like August Fanon without doing some August Fanon shit.
Phenomenal.
There you go. Yeah, there's some Fanon on there.
I don't know if that's like his real name or whatever, but that's a hard ass name.
Like, listen to that.
I will go my favorites on the album. I'll go with Sparking Zero. I like this album a lot too, but I don't want to be like this nigga here. War Rations, Impermanence. I don't use that word on this channel very often.
I like it.
Actually, this song playing right now might be my new favorite. I'm like,
Yeah, you
26
hear that,
doses.
right?
Because I didn't get to the end. That's the problem.
Bro, and this hold on, let's let that run, because that's Jane Cortez. The poem is called Cultural Operations.
The white South African government wants to give up the word apartheid without giving up the gold, the army, and the real estate. And the new judge is showing his hairy teeth to the Supreme Court as the European Economic Community gang up to keep racism in his body of segregated cash machines.
Hairy teeth is an expression I was not familiar with.
Bullshit.
You gotta be an old fire ass black lady for that one.
Evidently.
Think tank manipulation of history, geography, and information. Operation Out of Shape Generals, still talking war and licking plates in the cafeteria. Operation Desert Dumbness.
Operation 1992.
Yeah, the year I was born.
Operation Desert Storm.
Desert Storm, yeah.
Yeah.
That's this production is so it's perfect for this kind of like poetic like it's like a slam poetry kind of.
Jane Cortez also was a music artist, and she was with a band called Jane and the Fire Sitters, one of those. But I wouldn't be surprised if that shit is on Spotify. It's interesting music. A lot of times it's poems being read over like bands in the tradition of like beat poetry, in the traditions of your Amiri Barakas, in that black radical tradition of getting our thoughts off over fire spitters. Yeah. That's even harder than fire starters. Yeah. It's fire spitters, bars.
Shouts out to the Prodigy though.
Yeah, speaking of the black radical tradition, he had black eyeliner on.
There's two black people in the Prodigy. You got Max in Reality and Leroy Thornhill, who happens to be the older brother of one of my best friends. So there you go.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smack my bitch. Okay.
Amongst swordsmen, the talk's gorgeous, walk the same shape and form amongst distortions over gilded ground, equally divided.
Shout out to all of our folks that we rock with. Also, I haven't read it myself, but Caltrops Press, friend of the show, we support wholeheartedly. Just had I believe it's an interview with blackchai.
That's right. Yes.
I never like to get other media before I discuss an album. I never read reviews. I never watch reviews. I don't really read the rollout unless it's the liner notes on Bandcamp or something before I get into an album. I do that just because I don't want it to kind of shape my thoughts. But I'm looking forward to reading that because Caltrops Press is perhaps the best writing that I've ever read in hip hop culture. Shout out to Noname Book Club. Noname, friend of the show, patron as well. We've got Extraordinary Rap Podcast. We've also got Rap Music Plug Podcast. We've got OG Nick Marsh, Focus Hip Hop, and I'm missing some.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of friends, man. A lot of dope people.
You playing games, but intrinsically this is shoots and ladders. From a bunch of snakes.
Oh, yo, shouts out to Chai, like Japanese Chai. They just broke up. But yeah, Mana, Kana, Yuna, Yuki, you guys made great music. Like one of my favorite albums of last year. Check them out.
Meanwhile, we on the
Also the black radical tradition.
What if Chai were black?
I bet your fingers never even brushed the championship belt. Ain't never had no money in the bank. Spent otherwise a blur after a year wandering. I caught the second wind.
You're not my dad.